The plant that dumped this giant pile of shingles in southern Dallas is temporarily shut down. A judge just granted a temporary restraining order against the facility. We've been telling you all week about the piles of shingles near homes on South Central Expressway in Simpson Stewart. News 8's David Goins is live tonight in our newsroom with those new developments. David, what are you learning?
Yeah, Chris, this ruling came down just in the last 30 minutes or so, and it basically tells Blue Star Recycling that it can't recycle any more shingles until it follows city ordinances and rules, and that includes obtaining an air quality permit from the state, something the recycling company does not have. Now, this is an environmental concern that is easy to see, as we showed you off the top, according to the city. Now, these shingles have piled up really over the last 12 months since this recycling plant opened up in late 2017, right up against homes in southern Dallas off South Central Expressway. In December, the city said the recycling plant needed to clean up the runoff into area waterways. The recycling plant thought they had that issue taken care of, but now the city says the concern is air quality as well, and the judge late this afternoon agreed, saying until Blue Star obtains a permit, they cannot do any further recycling.
It's just a clear abuse. You know, obviously we want to see businesses within our community that are partners in the community. Right. It appears as though they don't want to be a partner in our community.
Now, State Senator Royce West there says he is actually keeping close eyes on the situation because the company is out of compliance not only with the city of Dallas, but with the state as well, because they do not have that air permit. Chris, important to point out, this restraining order doesn't prevent Blue Star Recycling from selling off its inventory, aka that pile of pulverized shingle material that makes up that mountain. That's good news for residents, but it is far from the end. The judge wants an update on the progress for this coming up on April 3rd. Back to you.
All right, something to look forward to.